you've seen what Training Day.
Yeah.
Training Day is amazing.
Training Day is
yeah,
the shit.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah, how often are you still doing a lot of like, I don't know if you ever do, I guess maybe.
I watch a lot of movies on planes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best place. Are
I
you
probably like 80% of my viewing is
on a plane?
one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
Well, there's something about watching a movie while in transition, like while traveling, that like I feel like it activates the mind. And
It always makes me cry. I always cry at like really stupid movies.
Would you cry last at?
I don't know, like I'd probably cry at like a scene in White Chicks or something.
Yeah.
I cry really easily at movies too, and never from music. It's very weird.
I feel like your senses are heightened on a plane specifically, though. Like a
yeah.
lot of people have the experience of crying to a movie on
That's
a plane.
actually
Yeah,
true.
I think it's a thing.
It is.
I
Something's happening.
randomly, it's never like fully crying, but you know that little like well up feeling.
Yeah.
I happened to be on a plane, not related to watching a movie, but this has happened to me before, not on a plane, but just like for some reason, little kids talking to their parents makes me tear up for some reason.
Wow.
You know,
Cute.
do you feel this at
Yeah.
all?
No, totally.
And there's like a little kid behind me, and he was telling his mom what movie he was going to watch. He was like, "Mom, I'm going to watch blah blah blah." And for some reason,
you started crying?
It just like gave me that little.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I mean?
I hear
cool.
that. Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot, so I was like, "Damn, why did that happen?" I can't.
Well, it's like
I don't know.
nostalgic for you.
Yeah, I think that's what it
being
is.
That kid.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's very emotional.
yeah, but it's not actually crying. But music has done that too. There's just like this like weird feeling where it's like your emotions have just like topped out for like a split second. But that's like I actually really love the feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can make something that does that, that's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like the
Oh,
ultimate
yes.
dream.
I mean, similar to that, I feel like I'm always trying to make stuff. Like sometimes people will ask me, "How do you know when the song is done?" And it's always when I can like listen to the whole thing and kind of forget where I'm at, or like I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about what I'm doing, or when it's sort of like it's almost like getting like catching a fish when the song kind of hooks me like
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
when
yeah.
I feel like then it's good to go.
yeah.
Yeah, Person Pitch is one of those records that I completely lose myself in. Like I can listen
Oh,
to it
it's
on
cool.
repeat. Like I kind of forget about my life. I kind of go into this trance zone, and partially structurally, the songs are kind of built that way. But like it
Yeah.
does sort of shut the rest of me off in a way that was like that's what I look for in all my favorite art, essentially.
Yeah, me too. I think that's what I'm or at least something like that experience is always what I'm looking for when I'm listening to something. Or the music that I like the most is stuff that sort of gets me to that place.
Yeah.
Besides just like party jams, which
Right.
is like a whole nother.
Yeah. Like karaoke anthems, but there's a different beauty to that.
There's
but-
a side to music that's more like entertainment geared.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to like put a value judgment on it. I don't
Yeah,
think it's
totally.
any less valuable than
No.
the other stuff, but it is sort of like a different target, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm always envious of performers who do that side
Right.
of things.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just
Right. Yeah. Well, I have two sides to my taste, and it's like just kind of more, I guess, dry, just structured kind of melodic pop songs. But I feel like there's a certain when that kind of hits a certain level, there's a transcendence just from melody to me.
yeah. There's just something so beautiful about certain songs where
Yeah.
it like kicks me up a gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's the kind of electronic music realm of kind of repetition and atmosphere, and then the best of that is equally transcendent. They kind of like both take me to the same place, weirdly, you know?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Even though they're kind of doing in the complete opposite way. I don't know.
I love movies that do that also. Is Pedro Costa Portuguese? Do you know Pedro Costa?
That sounds like a Portuguese
Yeah,
name.
he's Portuguese.
Yeah, you should. You guys should check out his movies. I don't think you love him as much as I do.
Well,
but
I really didn't like the one that I saw.
All the
I'll watch another one.
Portuguese movies that I've seen are super dark,
Yeah.
and it's always like incest involved. They're
Yeah,
really into incest there.
that definitely is at play in some of Pedro's stuff. He has a movie called Horse Money. In Vonda's Room is the one I'd recommend. It's really, but yeah, there is like a darkness to them that is like totally absent from any like American or even like European stuff I'm into. Like there's something especially fucked up about this Portuguese filmmaker.
Yeah, they like the really like fucked up stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like. Do you guys like superhero movies?
I I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think. I
Yeah.
don't know. I liked.
I just like skip them. I don't ever watch the big.
Well, I was
not even out of
talking with someone
curiosity.
recently about how because the first Spider-Man movie was like actually a good movie. It's just like some of the first Batman movies were really good. Like it's just landed us where we are now with just like everything's a superhero movie. But
Yeah.
like thinking back to when
It's
those
easy money.
movies came out, I was like they were really good. I liked it when the movies were good. Yeah,
There's a handful of them that I like,
yeah.
but most of them I don't really like.
Which
that
ones
much.
are you into?
I like the first Iron Man movie. I think is good. I really like
Exactly, yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. a lot.
He's amazing in Oppenheimer.
I like Thor Ragnarok.
You like that?
I thought that was
You're a
good.
Thor guy.
I don't like any of the other Thor
but the
stuff,
Ragnarok
but that
stuff.
one I thought was good.
Denzel guy, Ragnarok guy.
The first Doctor Strange I thought was pretty good.
Oh yeah,
And the animated Spider-Man one.
Spider-Verse. The most
Into the Spider-Verse
Into the
or the-
Spider-Verse. I've heard it's good.
That one was good.
Yeah, I never saw it.
That's one my son and I both like watched
Oh,
together a
nice.
bunch.
Yeah, what's the like watching movie with your son vibe?
I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I try to make it
Inception. You said
happen.
Inception,
Inception, he watched with his friend.
and he's like, "That's my favorite movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said Inception was his favorite movie like 3 weeks ago.
He's a
Like,
he's a
but
Nolan
that
guy.
was really a surprise. That came out of nowhere. Like, what? But we went to the theater to see the Spider-Verse movie, and we're super into that.
You should show
And
him odds,
I
Zach.
got him, as I told you, I got him to watch all of the Matrix because I love the first Matrix a lot.
It's the best.
As far as like big like Hollywood movies,
Yeah.
it's like I think it's one of the best. In
Oh,
the
yeah,
last,
of
like,
course.
Basically a
Yeah.
superhero
50
movie.
years.
Yeah, it's like it's an action movie, but it's like
It's basically a Marvel movie, but like the best one ever.
But like how many times I've thought about just the idea of like a mental prison and
yeah,
like just that whole side of the movie I think is just like super profound and amazing.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I was very into like all the books and like expanded cinema of the Matrix when it came out.
And
The
trying to
video
like
game.
dress up an idea like that in this sort of like action
Yeah, yeah.
like popcorn costume is I feel like something I try to do with music a lot
Yeah,
as
totally.
far as like trying to take maybe influence or stuff that I think is cool but maybe won't translate to most people or it seems more of like a fringe idea. I'll try to like
Yeah,
pump it into like a costume that is easier to swallow somehow.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You're very the Matrix. That makes a lot of sense.
That's high praise. Thank you.
We love the Wachowskis.
What's the last thing they did?
They did.
Oh, the new Matrix, which
The new
everybody
Matrix.
hated.
Which
I
I
never
didn't see.
saw it, but man,
I thought it was pretty
People
sick.
hated
I thought
it.
It was really sick.
really.
I really liked it. Yeah, I mean, I'm like such a fan of the Matrix that like there's so much like fan, food in the movie that I'm just like loving it. But I mean, it's a pretty advanced. Like the Wachowskis are very advanced in their writing and in their directorial style. Like they're never doing something that's just like completely uninteresting. Like they had this Netflix show called Sense8 that no one really talked about, but was like basically amazing. Like it was just so.
I couldn't get into it. I stopped halfway through, but
But you could, you know what I mean? You
Yeah,
you
but
gotta
it's-
be like
yeah.
respect. They're doing their thing.
yeah,
again.
exactly. I
They
just
did
like
Jupiter Ascending.
I just usually
Oh, yeah.
can't get into the high energy action stuff. But Matrix is obviously a special case. But
Did you see their movie before The Matrix, Bound?
no.
It's this like kind of like erotic lesbian thriller
With Gina Gershon,
with Gina Gershon and
Jennifer Tilly,
Jennifer Tilly. Yeah.
they're in the pool.
So you've seen it? Yeah. How do you know
I
so
don't think
much
I've
about
seen
it?
it. I
Yeah.
think I've just seen like pieces of it.
Yeah.
it's kind of like a noir, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a really really cool movie. It's like kind of like The
I haven't seen
Matrix,
it,
but
but-
like less sci-fi.
Yeah.
I like. I tend to like not movies that seem like films. I like films that appear like movies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know what you mean.
Expand on that.
Something that's on the surface, kind of like more the entertainment vibe that we were talking about.
Right.
But like once you kind of dig into it, there's like all this other. There's like a whole nother world of
They have Trojan Horse.
kind of
something,
Trojan horse stuff. That's like my
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's also just like it takes a lot of skill, really, to kind of like make something have that super accessible layer.
I think it takes like multiple skill sets. Which
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think is why it's so
Yeah.
hard. You have to like be able to kind of grasp the the more kind of fringe stuff, but you also have to have like a mastery of just like translating things to people and making it fun for people, which
Right.
Yeah.
I certainly couldn't do. But
That was my experience with like when I first fell in love with like Radiohead and Paul Thomas Anderson. I was like,
yeah, they're
this
a really
stuff
good
is-
example of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, this stuff's so big and like popular, but it's so advanced and like they
Yeah.
clearly know. There's so much else there. It's not just this.
Yeah. Well,
surface level.
Do you like the first 2 albums?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that shows like they have a grasp of
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
bigger side.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
Benz is my favorite Radiohead album, so
that's my favorite one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I like Bulletproof and like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
really
Oh,
like
yeah.
sappy ones.
Yeah.
I don't like the rockers so much, but
I don't like the song "The Benz." That's the one that doesn't do it for me. on the
Black
album. I
Star
really like it.
underrated.
It's really underrated. That
Yeah,
one's sick.
I love that song.
But yeah, right. They had. And I mean, they wrote like "High and Dry," which was like essentially the blueprint for like Coldplay. You know.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
and
I
then
like
they were
Coldplay
like,
too.
me too.
The first 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Pretty good.
Parachutes.
I
Come
know.
on.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so good. I when people hate on Coldplay, I'm like, guys,
Listen to these.
listen to the first
records.
two. Yeah. It's like, come on. It's
But then I also
undeniable.
like them because I'm like, these are like Radiohead records.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
But it was cool that they kind of hit that, and then they never really went back to it. They were just like,
That touches on a whole side of things that I think about a lot, which is why people like things, I guess,
Yeah.
or why people don't like things, and
Yeah.
all the stuff that's like wrapped up in that. Because I feel like there's so much baggage that people don't really think about, and why they have a response to something. As like a kind of stupid example, let's say you're in high school and you have there's this kid that you really don't like, and they're really into this band. You kind of that band is always going to be through this filter of this horrible kid that you don't like.
Yeah.
That's a really kind of like broad strokes example, but I think stuff like that is happening all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Big time.
Yeah. Or just, yeah. I mean, that's like the classic, judging something by its audience is not,
But I think so much of it is like subconscious too.
yeah. Oh,
Like
for sure.
I just really feel this way, but I think there's like
Right.
layers of stuff that's going on for you that outputs this thing of like I like this thing or I don't like this thing, and
Yeah.
I try to like catch myself going through those like kind of layers when I'm watching something or
Totally.
listening to something.
I feel like
all
it's
the time.
probably worse than ever now because just like the way you interface with things on the internet is like kind of through who else likes it. So it's kind of like you
or
can't
who
extract
tweeted it or
Yeah,
what
exactly.
channel it's on.
It's not like
or-
sitting
yeah.
with a record in the same way and like having this personal relationship with it because you find it kind of through its audience and these other channels on the internet. So it's like
Yeah.
no way to
It's colored
dissociate
in
the
all
two.
this
Exactly.
different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
That happens for me in reverse all the time with movies, because if you see a movie potentially before it has some sort of like audience reaction or cultural implication, like at a film festival, or you see a link early or something, like you can have this like one-on-one experience with it. And there have been movies that I've loved that have then come out and sort of spawned its own culture, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like all this stuff that the culture that spawned from this thing that I like, but I still really like the thing. It's sort of it's confusing that I'm like, oh, it really does affect. It's like I wonder if I'd even watched the movie had I seen it after I saw what it spawned.
Totally. It's kind of like the HBO thing, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when you see A24, you're like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, here we go.
this is gonna be pretty good. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very strange.
It's branding essentially.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. Someone said this, and it's so true. So, like, the interesting thing about A24 and HBO probably also as well, it's like they play the role that like record labels played for music, whereas like you would listen to anything on this label, and that never really happened before. You know?
No, it's pretty new. I mean,
In movies that didn't exist before.
there was like Miramax.
Yeah.
the heck
Yeah,
had-
Miramax.
But it was just like smaller scale. It was kind of like 4 heads. It wasn't like
Or it was just big studio stuff, and it's just like everything essentially came from the big
Yeah.
places. And there was no like, oh, this is like MGM. Like,
Yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence that stuff like A24 and Annapurna, is it him?
Annapurna.
Stuff like that is kind of growing as like superhero movies and all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
those are the two kind of like sides that are
They are
yeah.
branching out against each
yeah.
other.
the indie labels versus the major
But it's cool. I mean,
studios,
I don't
yeah.
know. It's cool to be into both.
Well, there's good stuff in
Yeah.
both. I mean, I like that you're bringing up the Trojan horse thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, I
Yeah.
really think that's, like, it is sort of the top tier stuff. It's like when you can operate at this big level, but have interesting ideas at play and be working on, like, a much subtler level.
Yeah. I mean, what appealed to when I was young and getting into like experimental music and like noise and electronic and all this stuff, it was because I got so into music that I just like found this extreme pocket of it, or like this pocket that did things that other stuff music couldn't do, and I was like, I need to go, this is like its own world. It's like kind of on the farthest edge of music. I need to go there. But on the other side of the same coin, like the most undeniable like songwriting, just like pop song of all time is also extreme to me in that way. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so if you like extremes, I don't understand. To me, I just didn't make sense because like everyone I knew in the experimental world was like, why do you listen to pop music also? I'm like, it's extreme. It's like it's just as extreme.
It's like team mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Just people feeling like, again, it's like that kid likes that thing. I don't like that kid, so I don't like that thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
This is my group, and that's their group. And
Yeah.
people, I think there's like a safety and a comfort in feeling like these are the boundaries of my thing. And
Right.
I don't
Also gives
fuck
you a
with
sense
that
of
stuff.
identity because you're like, I'm
Yeah.
this kind of
I
person.
think it's all
like
wrapped
these
up in
things, and
identity.
this is like
It
I'm
is.
taking these things and like that's my identity. Whereas for me, I don't think of it like that. I think of it as like I'm trying to like hear all the good shit. You know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like if there's one thing that I feel like Animal Collective was trying to like offer up, it was that idea of like it doesn't have to be like we're like an indie rock group, but we don't make electronic music, or like we're a noise band.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's funny to watch like us getting labeled by, and I understand why they do it, but we were freak folk, and then we were like indie electronica, and then like just kind of skips around all the time, and now we're indie sleaze or something like that. But yeah, I feel like that was from the beginning. That was like a big part of our deal. Was like we want to try to do everything and in a way that was like respectful to all the different stuff, and not feel like we were like on a team of any.
No, totally. I mean,
type.
I hear that in you guys a lot. It kind of reminded me of because like so much of the greatest shit does that. It's kind of Animal Collective has a lot to do with shoegaze to me in that way, where it was like the kind of mix of melodicism and like real songwriting on top of this kind of new sonic territory. And just
I think
kind of,
Merriweather's pretty shoegazy.
yeah, totally.
It is, definitely.
The way the kind of like repetitive figures and kind of that trance thing is very much that.
Yeah, I was into so much like rigid kind of structured music before like getting into Animal Collective and all of your guys' music, and it was like the first thing that came to mind when I started like when I heard feels or something. It was like finger paint music. Like all the genres felt very finger paint to me. Like I've always thought of all of your music as finger paint for some reason. They're just
That's
like
cool.
collagey, and it's just something freeing about the way you're engaging with like genre or the aesthetic, and it always felt like free and open.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
It also makes sense to me that like if you're a band that's around for a while, that there's going to be this sort of like switch where especially if you do really well, which I'm not sure we did, but I think if you're a band that does super well, there's going to be like a younger generation who sees the older kids into your thing, and they're going to be like, we're not about that.
Yeah.
These people like this thing, and we don't like that thing, because that sort of like separates us from the older generation. That we don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
So I think kind of circling back to going in and out of sync with people. I think that's like a big part of that kind of
Big time.
trajectory.
Yeah. What did you feel like was like your generation of New York, or just of music's kind of like rejection of the old hat? Like, what did you feel?
Well, we felt it a lot at first, because a lot of like the like indie rock kind of like stalwarts and writers and people who were in magazines like hated us, like in a really personal way, because I think we sort of I guess like threatened their position as like we're sort of like lords of the manor here, kind
Yeah,
of.
Right. Right.
And also, I think we just had like a really effeminate kind of thing that a lot of these like
Yeah. Yeah.
hyper masculine
totally.
like indie rock bros like really didn't like.
Yeah.
Still don't like.
Yeah, yeah, right. Because you said you guys were kind of just getting fashion press in the beginning.
Yeah.
So did you feel like the
Yeah,
music
that
press
was not
like
like
fuck this?
a cool thing for these people,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's still happening in New York now.
That's
It's like all
that's
the culture
amazing,
and
yeah.
fashion magazines are writing about New York, and the music press hate it.
Yeah,
It's a weird thing. I guess this is how it goes.
Yeah. This is wild.
some things never change.
Yeah. Damn.
A little harsh transition here, but I love the food in Lisbon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's they have like a really distinctive set of things that they like.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's really hard to get like I feel like foreign food going there.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem to be happening a little bit now, but it's mostly for tourists and like expats and
Yeah.
Yeah.
people who are coming to Portugal from other places, because the Portuguese really like have their thing, and it's codfish and it's pork and
Pastel
there's no
donadas.
sauces of
Yeah.
any kind.
Yeah.
It's really like simple kind of basic stuff, but
Yeah.
their take on it is like they like really good ingredients, and
Yeah.
they want like the meat to just they want to taste the flavor of the meat and not like cover it up with all this stuff. That's like one side of the coin, and
Yeah.
you know, like the more like French side of the coin is like the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've there's certain parts of it that I've come to really like. I don't love all of it, but
There's been no greater disparity between the quality of like something that's famous in a certain place as the pastel de nata in Lisbon versus I've tried to get it so many other places. It's like it's always horrible. And
Yeah.
anywhere else I've had it, like
Yeah.
they're terrible.
yeah,
I don't think I've had it outside of Lisbon.
There's like places in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
even in Paris and other parts of Europe, I'm like, wow, this sucks compared
Yeah.
to the ones that were.
Did you? There's this place. It's a bit of a chain now called Manteigria.
Yes,
That one's really
that
good.
one's that was
one's
the one.
really bomb.
I tried like 10 of them when I was there, and that was the one.
You'll get like 8 of them in like a little kind of long box
Yeah.
like that.
Fire.
Those are so good.
We went to this cool. It wasn't even really a restaurant. You remember somebody recommended us to go to this place that was like it felt like somebody's apartment, and there was like a woman cooking, and you could only pick 3 things. It was like you either get the shrimp.
Did I go with you to that?
I think so, but like it felt like somebody's basement of like their house essentially, and it was just one woman cooking with
Oh,
like
cool.
garlic and shrimp. I don't know. There's just
Yeah.
again the magic of Lisbon. I was going to ask you, did you feel like maybe moving there was an attempt in some subconscious way to kind of like escape like this identity association thing we're talking about, or like having people see you through certain lenses?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that, I think, until maybe the past 5 or 6 years. But I don't think it was trying to escape just that. I think there was a lot of things that I was kind of running away from.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem so at the time.
Right.
But like a lot of records, I'll feel like I'm making one thing as I'm making it, and then sort of 5, 6 years down the road, I'll kind of see things in the words
Right.
that I'm like, I realized I was saying this, but I didn't even,
Right.
I wasn't aware of it at the time so much.
Right.
It's weird how a lot of times when I'm writing stuff, because I don't often have like a game plan as far as what the song's going to be about. It just sort of usually I'll just kind of wing it, and then there's like a phrase or two that I really like, and I'll kind of, or the title, and I'll sort of build it off of that. But it's funny to watch how a lot of the times I'll be saying stuff in the music that I haven't like admitted to myself almost.
Yeah.
And then like a year later I'll be like, especially when I'm doing interviews or whatever about the music, I'll have to really kind of think about it or analyze it in a way that I never would otherwise.
Yeah.
And I'll discover things about the music that I didn't really know were there.
That is the beauty of making art, I think, on some level. Is figuring yourself out.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Did you figure anything out yet?
No.
Yeah. But it kind of just you feel like you do subconsciously. You know what I mean? It's just like that thing. Like you probably worked through whatever you were running away from without even realizing it. You're just noticing it now. But
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a bit like how I'm sure the environment plays a role in what the stuff that I make, but it's really hard to trace the influence. I think it goes the opposite way too, where like what I make also is sort of reflective of who I'm becoming, but it's also something that I can't really trace until after the fact, or I can't
Right.
kind of like connect the dots until after it's over.
Yeah.
Or I'm like away from it.
Right. You also, I feel like you like collaborations. You got a lot of good ones. I love the Dean Blunt collab personally. How was that?
The which one?
Dean Blunt.
Oh yeah. I was just a really huge fan of his,
Yeah.
and he. Let's see. I moved out of my practice space, kind of like 10 years ago, and I eventually went back. But for I think like a year there, he came to the very spot that I was in, like sharing the space with a bunch of other people.
Oh, in Lisbon?
Yeah. And we kept talking about like trying to hang out and make music together, and it just didn't really happen. And then he sent me some stuff and I didn't get to it in time, and I was really sad about it. And I would just see him on tour every once in a while, and I kept saying like we should do something, and he sent me another thing, and like 2 days later I sent him back the stuff.
Yeah.
I was just such a huge fan, and
Yeah, we're both diehards.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
He's his shows are always amazing.
Yeah.
He always has just cool ideas, and the experience of being at his show is kind of like unlike anything else. It's always like I never know what to expect. Like even Bar Italia, I feel
Yeah.
like is.
Yeah.
I kept like thinking like he was like
Doing it.
Yeah.
it's like just the fact that I was thinking about whether he had written the music because I'd
Yeah.
heard this stuff, and
Right.
Yeah.
I was just like, he got me again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. I know there's this new thing. I don't even think people know who it is now coming out on his label, the Crying Nudes.
I don't know.
It like just came out. No one knows who it is, I guess. People are guessing. Same thing. He never misses. It's kind of insane.
Yeah,
I
he's the
know.
best.
I know.
He's the best. I went to this show in Lisbon where he had like all the lights on really bright in the room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was totally smoked out.
Was
And
it
there
the
was
baby
this guy
father?
like
Baby father thing?
yeah, it was a baby father.
Yeah.
He just kind of like DJ'd for the first hour and then performed after that. But there was a guy like walking around with like a whippet thing, and he would just like give it to people. And it was so bright.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
really
heard he
cool.
likes just like all house lights on, which is, I never saw him do one of those, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
sick.
it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, some other cool collaborations. Friend of ours, Zombie, Things Fall
Yeah.
Apart track.
Yeah.
Love that one. Daft Punk. Some cool
Right.
shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. How was Daft Punk? Because you were a huge Daft Punk fan.
Huge, yeah, still am. And I was always trying to get them to do a remix, and they would say no over and over again. And I was just like, well, just ask them again.
Yeah.
And I think I just sort of wore them down.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we don't do remixes. They always said that. But then finally they were like, well, why don't you come to Paris and maybe we'll try to do something. So I think I scheduled 3 days with them. And the thing I was really worried about was that I was going to show up and they would play me something and just be like, okay, do something good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what happened. But because I like to just, especially when I do collaborations, I'll just like listen to the thing a whole bunch, and then the kind of my role in it will just sort of slowly appear over time. It kind of like solidifies into this thing. I'll just kind of like improvise over it in the beginning, and then it just sort of solidifies, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So just having to like rip it was what I was really afraid. I just didn't think I was going to do very good.
Yeah.
And for the first 3/4 of the first day, I definitely wasn't hitting it. I could tell they were kind of like, not really feeling it. And then I started talking to them about like, could I take the track home to the hotel to me tonight, and I'll just like spend all night trying to come up with something, because that's how I usually like to do stuff.
Yeah.
And they're so secretive about stuff, and I mean, I feel like I understand why, because I feel like they've been ripped off a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Dean, they like have really good ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they just didn't want. They weren't psyched about me taking the track to the hotel.
Right.
But the track was playing in the background as we were having this conversation, and I just sort of like heard that. Eventually, what I did, sort of like the rhythm of it and the melody of it, as we were having this conversation about taking it, and I was like, well, let me just try this one more thing. And like as soon as I started doing it, I could see they were kind of smiling in the control room, and that was sort of it. I think I wrote the lyrics that night, which is really hard with Daft Punk, because I feel like there's such a specific kind of zone that their words are in.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard to do what they do with the words and not have it be just super corny sounding.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time that night trying to come up with something that felt like them, but also kind of like me, but didn't seem really corny.
Yeah.
And then I think the next day I recorded all the vocals, and then for the next like day and a half, we just kind of like worked on the structure of it. And I kept thinking after we were done that they were going to do all this other stuff to it, but the way we left it after 3 days is like exactly how it comes out. On the record, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, you nailed it. That's probably my favorite track on that record.
It's definitely my favorite on the record. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a
Having
weird.
been like such a huge fan, I was just like,
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Now people are always like, "Let's do a session." I'm like, what? So we're like there, just improvising together. It like, but in this kind of structured way. It's not like jamming.
some people really like that. Though.
Yeah.
That's like they can't imagine doing it any other way.
I can't imagine doing it that way. I mean, I'm gonna try. I mean, it clearly leads to good results a lot of time. Maybe it's good. Maybe it gets you out of your head and kind of forces you. But for me, I'm
think-
like, yeah, I just want to. If I just like leave for a second and sit alone, I can probably come up with something. But
I think for some people, especially like in the rap zone,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there's like a weird like competitive energy. And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like you want
Yeah.
to show like how good you are.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of people in there, it's almost like a performance in a way.
yeah, that's
It
what I
is,
was gonna say.
totally.
I don't rock like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think I could come up with something, that I like that way. But then again, I love kind of being thrown on stage and just like you have to do it. I like when I have deadlines. I like when I have pressure. So maybe it's good. I don't know. I guess I got to try it. But clearly it works.
Yeah, you did it right.
Yeah. Yeah, you did it right.
I did my best.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of like a hip hop influenced thing that's become the way now. But it's probably good. I mean, I'm always like so jealous of how rappers can like make so many tracks.
Yeah.
Even melodic rappers, especially melodic rappers, I guess, because I'm like, these are like you like wrote like 5 songs in a day, and they're just like done.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
It is sort of like a battle rap thing, because I've been in studios in that milieu before, and it's like how different it is from like watching a band rehearse in like a practice space is
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
It's like the complete inverse. I'm like, oh, they're like, this is a show right now. There's like cute girls here they're trying to impress. There's like a whole different hierarchy of like energies flying around.
Yeah.
It's wild too to think about like Kanye or somebody like that. They'll take over like a whole studio complex, and they'll be like different groups in different rooms, and he's just like up all night, like going into different spots.
Yeah. Well, I guess it makes sense when you think about it. Sometimes I'll be with like a group of my friends, you're like hanging out, drinking and stuff, and you just kind of like are all talking and riffing, and you get excited and you get out of your head and you're like stoked. But then the next day when you're by yourself, like you go right back. You know what I mean? So I guess if you take that environment and put it in the studio, it actually makes sense that you're like kind of in this heightened state that's like out of
I
your
think
own
heightened
self-consciousness.
state is like the key. That's what everybody's trying to get. But
Yeah.
that's also what I'm trying to get, but I don't get it in that environment. If anything, it's the opposite. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But when I'm at home, especially, I'll like lock all the doors of the studio, and
Yeah,
it's gotta
yeah,
be
yeah.
like total.
Yeah.
I'm the
Nobody's
same way.
coming in, nobody's
Yeah.
going out.
Yeah.
It's just me,
Yeah.
and then I can really kind of like
Yeah.
get to a place that maybe something good will happen.
Yeah.
as opposed to Kanye renting out the whole floor of the Mercer and like having a different producer in each.
I mean,
hotel
whatever
room.
works,
And,
but-
Yeah.
that sounds pretty fucking cool
Different
too.
strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then you know, talking about collaborations, but now so Sonic Boom's kind of been your. I mean, it's like essentially, even though it's a collaboration, you guys are essentially a band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new thing is definitely a band. I feel like it was always kind of leading to that point, but it was just a long time coming, I guess. I mean, I was a huge fan of Spaceman 3 and Spectrum and all of his stuff. We remember it slightly differently, but to me, it was through MySpace. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my favorite social
And,
media.
Yeah. Social media peak there.
I think I had a page on there, and he wrote to me on there saying that he'd been at his friend Nick's place here in New York at a party, and Nick put on Person Pitch, and he just thought it was cool. And Nick was like, "Oh, well, he like gives you a shout out in the liner notes," and he was pumped on that. So he wrote to me and was like, "I like the record, and we should play a show together sometime." And I don't think I was playing shows then, or I was with AC or something like that. And I said, "Well, I have these songs that I recorded, and I'm looking for somebody to mix it. And would you want to do that?" And that kind of started us on this train that we just kind of got closer and closer, both personally and professionally. And
Yeah.
during the lockdown, he had this idea for taking intros to songs and just like looping the intro, like the first sort of like jolt of energy, and trying to make like a full song out of that. And it wasn't even like trying to make an album at first. It was just like kind of something to do during the pandemic because it sucked so bad.
Yeah.
And then after we had like 4 or 5 songs, I was like, "You should sing some songs." So he did some stuff, and
Damn, nice.
there it is.
Yeah.
Do we remember MySpace? Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
That was
Sorry, I don't know.
Ponytail was my MySpace song.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. You went to go check out KJ and it was just
Yeah.
Ponytail.
Right.
Sick.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
There was Friendster.
Friendster, yeah. I actually
Yeah. I feel like that was a little before our time.
a little before.
I wasn't on Friendster.
Yeah.
Zanga,
I don't even know what that is.
Live Journal.
Yeah.
No. LiveJournal I remember seeing.
Yeah.
Zanga was another live journal
Yeah.
style thing.
I didn't really do like any social media. I mean, I had people kind of run a page for me, but I never did any social media stuff until 4 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, man.
How do you feel about it? Like you're back on Instagram.
Yeah. I don't run the Instagram though.
Someone else does it.
Someone else does.
Yeah, nice. I could have guessed.
I feel like it's super powerful in a way that kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm really like wary of it. I don't ever feel like saying anything that's actually like real on it. Like it
Yeah.
feels really,
Yeah.
really artificial to me. And I think treating it like it's a real thing doesn't have any advantages really.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to help anybody.
I think and people don't talk about it enough because it can be funny and like entertaining, but the TikTok musician on TikTok thing, like everybody just turning into like blatant like your whole thing has to be like dancing to desperately try to get like a deal or something. It's so bleak.
TikTok is amazing though.
Yeah, it really.
I love
yeah,
TikTok.
That makes sense.
yeah.
But I would never post anything. But
No,
just
yeah.
whatever the algorithm is really, really good.
It's
I
very
know.
advanced.
Well, I love it until I see musicians self-promoting, and then it just like kills me.
I get a lot of like guys who make a beat in like a minute.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
it's
stuff's
like them
sick.
playing like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
different stuff.
That's
Yeah.
cool shit. Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I
But
like
I'm
the
always like
studio
it all
songs.
kind of sounds the same.
Yeah,
It is.
They're all
yeah.
like doing the same thing.
yeah,
It's like a party trick or something. It's like
Yeah.
I can make a beat in
Yeah.
10 minutes,
yeah.
but like I can't do anything else.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of times
know.
they can't either,
I know.
but they got a lot of.
But they have like 20 million followers.
Yeah.
So
They
jokes
got
on
some
me.
spins. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just. I feel like we bring this up every episode now. But have you ever delved into core?
Mm-mm.
It's a certain genre of TikTok
I feel like you would
video
be into
that's
it.
sort of like
Yeah.
sort of post everything.
Yeah.
Very philosophical, sort of like
It's like
super cuts.
Yeah,
of-
like super cuts of various like sometimes just like random other videos from like YouTube or Instagram, but also like clips from movies and all like that they make into like this weird collage of that's like a mood piece.
Oftentimes
usually
That
it's
set
sounds
to
like the
ambient
kind of
music.
stuff my son watches.
Yeah. No, it's very young
Yeah,
stuff.
it's actually it's like what made me think TikTok was cool.
but it's oftentimes scored by like a kind of emotive Aphex Twin
Yeah, or some
song or like
shit
a
like-
piece
yeah,
of
yeah.
film
Oh, yeah.
score.
That's
Cool.
pretty
That's good shit.
That sounds
it actually
cool.
is really good shit.
I'm sure there's some Panda Bear mixed in there.
Yeah.
Some core somewhere.
I hope
see
so.
that.
I want to get a song on like either like a dance or like whatever like I want to be in the background of like the type of video where everybody wants to do their version of it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just sort of like the background music.
Yeah.
But you can't force it to happen.
No.
I'm always jealous of friends who get there. Like there was that guy Sam from Future Islands.
Oh yeah.
He did that song with Bad Bad Not Good.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Was that a TikTok thing?
oh, I want one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Trojan horse your way there.
Yeah.
But it's like sped up.
Yeah. They always.
Oh right, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of your music that already exists would work well as
Yeah.
something like
Kind-
that.
that kind of that stuff happens out of the blue.
I mean, the Daft
could
Punk,
happen at any-
the doing it right. I could see that being some TikTok shit.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. We'll make it happen.
All right.
It'll
all,
help this episode.
All the listeners
I
out
appreciate
there,
that.
make it happen. But speaking of Aphex, what was your kind of like introduction to electronic music? You know.
It was I stayed with another family in high school. I went to this thing called a Waldorf school, which is like
Oh right, it's in Pennsylvania.
The high school was in Pennsylvania. There was an elementary school in Baltimore where I grew up, but it only went to 8th grade. So, and my brother was already at the school, my older brother. So, in retrospect, it was kind of a bad decision, but I guess it got me where I'm going. So, but I moved into this kid, like I stayed with a family, and their son had just gone off to college. So I moved into his room, and he left a bunch of CDs behind, and one of them was. A record by The Laws. Do you know them? It's
Like
just
the-
like an eye on it. It's like a British band.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
Still
one
one
with
of my
There She
favorite
Goes.
records ever.
There She Goes is on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and was it like Timeless Melody? Is that what that song is? So good.
There's
yeah.
so many jams on it.
Yeah.
And the other one was by a group called The Orb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's called UF Orb.
Yeah.
And that was like the first electronic music I'd heard. And through that, I feel like I went back towards like Detroit and Chicago stuff. And then forward to something like Aphex Twin, like the Richard D. James album
Yeah.
was a big one for me. But the first one was UF Orb by The Orb.
Sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
It's an incredible record.
Yeah. For me, it was
Gio Gotti.
yeah. It was I was at summer camp in Boston, where you also spent some time, and I went to.
Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in Philly,
Philly.
but I was like doing summer program there, and went to Newberry Comics, and was just buying stuff that I had like somehow heard about, and I never really listened to electronic music before. I bought Gio Gotti, and I bought the Daft Punk Digital Love single,
Oh, sweet.
Oh yeah.
and I remember like going back to Philly late at night, which was like I don't know, it's like an 8-hour drive or something. It's like crazy, and just listening to those two CDs, and that was like that totally changed my life for sure.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I mean, yeah,
Newberry Comics was the shop where like kind of one of my only dreams in music that I had was like I want to have a record that has a barcode. For some reason, the barcode was like
Made it
Yeah,
official.
right. It
and
was
now
like-
it's
it wasn't like
a
handmade
real
anymore.
thing. Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
like the consignment type deal.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was at Newberry Comics. Have you been there recently?
No,
No.
It's very different.
Is
yeah, I
it?
bet.
In what way?
A lot of T-shirts.
Yeah.
It's mostly like T-shirts and
Yeah.
like toys and shit.
Yeah, fuck.
Is it Princeton Record Exchange? Did you ever go to Princeton Record Exchange?
No, but I know that's a big one for people.
that was like my intro because I went to also summer program in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that like going to Princeton Record Exchange was like responsible for. I mean, I had my first kiss the first day I went to the first cool record store. It was like a big first cigarette,
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's an epic day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to other music?
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I used to work in like the office.
Oh, really?
Above, yeah.
Oh, cool.
They tried to put me on the floor like one morning, and within 15 minutes they were like, "Get out of here." I remember Josh, my dad, was like, "We're trying to hustle here." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was always very intimidated by the guys that worked there. I always felt like I wasn't quite cool.
Oh, I was always
cool enough
intimidated
to-
by. I probably still am. By
Any record store
yeah,
guy.
Yeah.
They're all sweet guys.
Yeah, underneath it all.
Well,
Sweet people.
Some,
Maybe not my friend Dan.
yeah.
I love Dan though, but
yeah.
What's the one? Two Bridges Music Arts.
yeah.
Great
Yeah,
record
yeah.
store. Very intimidating.
that was
guy.
after my time here.
Yeah.
but I know that was sort of like the spot for him.
It was a spot. And Repo, and for us in Philly, it was
Yeah.
like there was one out in the suburbs where we were living, and
Yeah.
then the one downtown. That was probably bought Person Pitch and
Well,
some
but-
Anco there.
Now we got Billy's Record Shop.
Billy's Record Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new one.
Our
What's
friend,
Billy's record shop?
our friend just opened a record store like
Oh, cool.
a month ago in Williamsburg.
Billy
Yeah.
Jones of Baby's All Right. He's like a venue showman, but
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, record stores coming
If you get a
back
chance,
in the
well, I guess
culture.
you're only
Check
here
out
for
Billy's.
24 hours, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Knockdown Center tonight, right?
Mhm.
Have you played there before?
We did we did a reunion version of Song Tongs, and that was like the first
Oh,
one that we
nice.
did.
Right, cool.
It was gnarly because it was all like filmed and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like we went downstairs after the show, and there was like 30 people like at
Editing and
stations
shit,
like
yeah.
doing stuff.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
Really tripped out.
Are you in the big space or like what? Do you know what part?
Because they
of-
always kind of like
Can't
it's like a
imagine
modular
where-
thing, or they
yeah,
like
I think
kind of-
it's got to be a smaller thing.
Yeah.
where it's too big for us.
You know the artist BV Dub?
Mm-mm.
No, we did this like ambient sort of like people laying down on yoga mats.
Oh,
in like
cool.
a side room. I haven't been any other time I've
Very
been there.
special.
I don't even remember where that room is. I can't even like picture the layout.
We tried to like recreate the like chill out rooms post rave sort of thing. This was like 8-9 years ago, but it's a special
wasn't that
place to
long
me.
ago.
It was,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
dude. We're
Damn.
getting pretty old.
Damn.
Well, good luck with the show tonight.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm
Thank you
so-
so much for having me.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah.
anybody you want to give big shouts to?
Animal Collective,
Oh yeah,
my
Biggest
boys,
shouts.
yeah.
and Brad Truax, Braxton Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
Dan Hoagland.
Hell yeah.
That'll suffice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And big shouts to all the Packers and heads.
And the
Thank
Packers
you,
and
Noah
heads.
Lennox. Thank you, Panda Bear.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You've inspired us tremendously. This was a big honor for us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Big shouts.
Peace.